friends. Happy Thursday to you. It is such a treat to be here. Thank you so much for joining us. We appreciate so much. As you know, Greg has big tech news to share with us in just a moment. I'm here to keep you on top of important business, finance, and headlines that you want to pay attention to. And of course, today we also have a very, very special guest. He's a friend of both of us. And let me just tell you, it's been quite a treat. You're going to actually probably notice a little difference on the side of Greg. I'm not going to tell you what it is, but if you know, put it in comments and tell me, what do you see different about Greg today? A big welcome, of course, to In the Loop with Winnie and Greg. I'm Winnie's son, longtime financial pro, CNBC council member, Forbes contributor, and host of Level Up, which can be found on NASDAQ. But of course, welcome to the show here. How are you, Greg?
I am doing good. Yeah, it's good to see everybody. Thank you for joining us. Really appreciate everybody who joins in the show every week. I am Greg Nibbler. So if you don't know, a longtime tech reporter, covered all kinds of topics. And we do have some tech news that we're going to be covering today. A big event earlier this week, which probably you already know about, but we'll hit some of the highlights. But we also do have a very special guest joining. So I'm really excited about that. And yes, if you can see what's different about me, I'm kind of curious to know what it is that people point out, because maybe it's not what I think. But yes, drop it into the comments. Let us know.
Drop it in the comments. Let us know, because I know you know. And those who've been joining us, we see so many of our friends say, thank you so much for joining us. Greg, if it's okay, I'm going to start the market. How about that? Okay. Because I'm actually excited to hear what you have to say. I imagine it's about, a techie, fruity company. But let's just talk about what's happening with the market. You probably saw beginning this week was a little crazy, right? We saw a lot of negative numbers. Yesterday seemed to be giving us a little seam again in the positive direction. But unfortunately, today, triple down day. Dow closed down 112 points. NASDAQ down 125 points, and S&P, my friends, also down 18 points. Now, you may have known this, but you probably heard about yesterday's news, but stocks definitely fell today because, unfortunately, peace talks between Ukraine and Russia really didn't go so well. And so that's continuing to worry investors. I'm sure you're watching the news just as carefully as we are. This is really giving us concerns about the geopolitical risk and how it's going to affect the market here and market growth in general. Now, the U.S. government also reported today a significant rise in consumer prices. Now, as you know, we really don't need significant rises in consumer prices because inflation is already sky high, which means the Federal Reserve is likely to get very aggressive with raising interest rates to offset inflation risks. Now, as a reminder, though, increasing interest rates is probably going to be a good thing. Now, temporarily, it's probably not going to feel very good, but you might see better rates at the bank. And certainly if you're looking to refinance or purchase a vehicle and you're going to need to take out a loan, I would do so sooner rather than later, providing, you can find inventory and the cost of that good isn't too crazy. And as a reminder, it's now also a month away from tax season. So, you may have your paperwork ready, maybe your filing is ready, and whatever you do, make sure to remember, though, you also still have time until your tax filing deadline to make those 2021 IRA contributions. For Roth IRA, traditional IRA, make sure to keep that on your radar. So there's a lot of opportunities now to earn long term. And with that, I'm going to swing it right back to you, Greg, because I really want to save time for what you've got to share with us today.
Yeah, well, I think a lot of us know what was going on earlier this week. Apple had their big event where they showcased some new products, including a new phone. So I want to kind of talk about some of the highlights from the event just to get those out to everybody. First off, though, there's one that I always know that, Winnie, that I feel like you would be interested in. And there is a new color lineup for the actual iPhone 13s. And it is a green hue that they have here. And so that is kind of the new color that they're showcasing.
Very chic. Kind of like army green there, right?
Yeah. It's kind of army green. They had a special name for it, but yeah, it's a green hue to kind of go along with the rest of the lineup that they've got with those iPhone 13s. So something a little bit different there. I'd always have a case on mine anyway, so the color doesn't end up mattering that much, because otherwise I'm going to drop it. But that's what we got for those. So we've got some new colors there. We also had a new iPhone 13 SE. So this is, a new iPhone SE. So this is the less expensive way to get into an iPhone, essentially, is what it is. So they had one of these, came out in 2020. There was a previous one before that. This is the third version in those. And it's a pretty great phone if you want to get into iPhones. It's $429 to start off with. It's smaller, but it has some of the same bells and whistles, still runs some of the same fast chips that you have in the regular iPhones. So it's actually kind of a nice budget way to get in. You're seeing a lot of phones, a lot of manufacturers having some success with these kind of entry level, I guess, even though it's really mid-level in the whole phone market, but entry level phones for them. And you're still going to get 5G. Another thing you're going to see more and more with pretty much every new phone is going to need to have 5G, whether that's because you're going to be using it or whether that's just because the cell phone carriers want you to have it. But that is that's what we've got there. A brand new iPhone SE.
So SE. So Greg, you're saying 429, right?
429, yeah, is the entry price on that one.
Wasn't rumor had it? I read somewhere. Rumor had it prior. They were saying that they were expecting $199 iPhone. I was really, you think it's going to come back that price, but 429.
Yeah, that was one of those rumors that was going around. Yeah, that 199. That did seem a little bit too low for Apple to be coming in at. But 429, that's where they're starting off with that. So you do get a lot of the same functionality that you'll get in the higher end phones, but it's not going to be the same.
Looks like they're really, like they said, family. I saw the tease right there in the marketing. So I think they're really trying to get families. Maybe this is something they're thinking as my first iPhone, maybe for kids, maybe for, I mean, it is certainly cheaper than $1,000 something phone, but
right. Yeah. I mean, it's a decision to make, if you want to save that money and maybe buy it outright. If you're buying a phone outright, that might be a way to go, but they're thinking this will be a pretty big success like the other one was. So I think maybe that's a good way to look at it too, kind of a family oriented, maybe, my first iPhone kind of thing. Somebody who's just getting into it, or maybe doesn't use the phone all the time, but still wants something quality. That's a way to do it. So you got the new iPhone SE, and then we also had some new iPads. A new iPad Air specifically is what was announced. And this thing, actually, if you're in the market for an iPad or a tablet, the iPad Air is pretty impressive. It's got a lot of the same bells and whistles as the iPad Pro, a lot of it in there anyway. It's going to be also set up for 5G, just like everything now. So you could have 5G service added on. But it's pretty robust for an iPad Air. And I know iPad Airs were really, really popular. So this is kind of a new update, a new take on that. But that was one of the other big hardware announcements that they had. It's really a lot of hardware for this event. But yeah, new iPad Air. So I think there's probably a lot of people that are going to be interested in that, and that's one of them. And then the other ones too, just to kind of hit the highlights here, because I know we want to get our guest on. And this has to do with a new Mac. So you have the Mac Mini, and you've got the Mac Pro, and now you have a Mac Studio. Ooh. This is something I want. I really like.
Pay attention now.
Yeah, this is pretty cool. I mean, for one, just to say this, for anybody who's a fan of these line of Macs, you got a lot of ports. There's a lot of ports on there. Yes. Ports are important. I believe it's 4 Thunderbolt 4 ports. It's a lot of things that are going into this, and also their new chips. So you got the M1 Max, but this M1 Ultra is really amazing. If you're somebody who does a lot of creative work or a lot of designing or video work, especially, that takes up so much power, and you really need a robust machine to handle things. Really, if you're going into 4K, 4 Thunderbolt 4 ports, 4K or even 8K video, this is something you definitely want to take a look at. It's actually, for this kind of pro level of machine, it starts off not too bad. It's $4,000, I believe, is the entry one. You can go all the way up to, or no, there's one for $2,000. But if you want to get into the Ultra, you can get into $4,000 all the way up to around $8,000, I think, if you want all the everything, all the bells and whistles. But that's not bad, quite honestly, for a business machine. If you're going to be doing a lot of work on it, it's pretty cool.
That is really cool. That sounds like quite an investment there. I think, when I'm looking at that looks great, Greg. But from my standpoint, I'm thinking, like, I'm hoping that they beef up the MacBook Pro, because I think a lot of us still like that portability, right? We want those extra ports. The Ultra sounds amazing. Talk about a sexy computer. That's hot.
It is. It really is. And so if somebody is in that market, take a look at all the things that they're bringing out with this, with both the monitor and the actual computer itself. Pretty impressive stuff that they've come out. And they showed a lot of benchmarks of them compared to PCs, saying how much faster they are. And I believe that you could run, it was up to, think it was 8K streams at a time through this. I mean, it's just massive power that you would have here. So the more and more, more that you're doing in video editing, the more I think you're going to want to look at this thing. And like I said, I want it. I don't even do enough to where I would use all of that power, but just to know that it's there and that you would have no lags on anything and you could do it if you wanted to. I like that. I'm eyeing that computer. It's pretty cool.
So, it must be on your shopping. It's in your shopping cart. That's cool, Greg. It's not that often you say that so affirmably, like I want this. So now it makes me like,
I don't need it, but I want it. It's one of those things. So it's pretty cool. So we've got that, and those are just some of the announcements that came out. If you do have an iPhone, you're going to be getting your iOS 15.4 update. So that's if you already have some stuff. But some cool product announcements from Apple. It's always great when they have an event and they do a pretty good job of showing off everything that they have. So definitely look into that more if you're wanting to find out more about these new products and when you can get them into your hands. But I know we've got our guest here too. We've got so many fun things to talk about here on the show, and I'm seeing some of the comments come through. So keep on dropping in those comments. If you have questions, let me know about that. But I'm excited to talk to our guest.
I am so excited that we're going to talk to guests. Want to say hello. I see CrossX Fire sees Joshua. So wonderful to see you. See Modern Mom. Thank you so much. And for those, all of you joining in, we asked a question at the top. Do you see something different about Greg? I suspect one of you do. If you do, drop it in comments so we know. But let me just tell you, today's guest is someone very special. And in fact, he's brilliant. Jack Phan is a friend of both of us, is an entrepreneur and CMO of AirDeck. He's a board member for Dollar for Dollar and also, he's actually a social media sensation too. Now, if you do a search for hashtag once uncle, it's gonna blow your mind. It frankly blows my mind how much reach and how popular Jack you are. Well, I shouldn't be surprised because when you meet him, you'll see you're gonna love Jack. But just incredible, Jack. How are you? Welcome to the show.
Oh, thanks for having me, you guys. And I'm talking about all these Apple event things. I mean, you're talking about the event from 2019 that basically brought all these K-pop, to me and Twice and everything that, with the little candy bong behind me. So it comes full circle here with the Apple event and all the fun stuff that I do around K-pop.
It really does. I mean, that journey with K-pop is incredible. I was around Jack and I was following you really when all this kind of happened. This entry into that world is kind of a crazy story.
It is a crazy story. I mean, again, go back to 2019 and the Apple event. iPhone 11 was launching, and usually, as you know, Greg, as these events are happening, it's the number one thing that's trending in the world. And on that specific day, things were happening in around the world and in K-pop before the event started, but it kept trending ahead of the Apple event, and just the word Momo, MOMO, and I'm like, what is Momo, and why is it trending ahead of the Apple event with like over 200,000, 600,000 tweets, and that was when the fan base came at me and just like, here's who they are. They are, a girl group. There's 9 members. One of them is Momo. I got it all here for you guys to see. I just. I went to Korea and then just this past week or 2 weeks ago, actually it's been 3 weeks ago now, I guess, they just had their world tour, reopened their second world tour here in the US. 5 cities, 7 shows, over 100,000 attendees. It was just phenomenal to be a part of that.
That is incredible. I feel like you're too young to be uncle, though. That's my only comment there.
You'd be surprised. I come across, it's a term of endearment, as what they started calling me Samchan in Korean, for uncle, and that's when they started calling me Once Uncle. Once is the fan base of Twice.
Well, I mean, as you've now been a part of this for, I guess, almost 3 years. Really, like, what's it been like over that time period? Because you're so involved with it, and I see everybody replying to all of your tweets and everybody getting, commenting to you and sending posts to you. Like, how has it been? Like, what is it like now interacting with that crowd?
Yeah, no, it's really fantastic. I've learned so much, and as a social media person and someone who's kind of been involved, even at days of digital trends when we were working on just bringing engagements and brand recognition. Part of what I've been able to do is connect with this fan base that is an amazing fan base. They are so caring. They share so much about Twice and what they do. But what I started to learn from that is through the adoration of fans and what fans are willing to do for a brand or a company or a like a movie brand or a band as well, right? And so fans will do anything. And I even did a talk over at Adobe Experience Makers Live the following year on this topic around how companies can learn from that to build fans from their customers and let the fans speak out. So really the it's been amazing, like the recognition that I get, and then the positivity that does come from K-pop. The craziness of BTS. This is the girl group of BTS, basically, the girl version of that, and they are just phenomenal. They're great people, great women, and the fan base is just amazing. So I'm having the time of my life.
Wow.
It's amazing. It's really fun to follow. And if you don't follow Jack on Twitter, definitely do so. Because it seems like it's a really, really great community to be a part of. All these people, working that. Yeah, there we go. There's an example right there. Oh yeah, see, there you are live with us right now. So this is
I know it's so cool, Jack. I mean, it's absolutely incredible the amount of reach that you have. But one thing I wanted to ask too is, we talked about your role at AirDeck. And I was hoping that you might be able to circle back and maybe go a little deeper and share with us what AirDeck is, and you talked a little bit about the transforming communication. Can you share with us more about the company?
Oh, absolutely. So a good friend of mine, someone that I met probably back in the early 2010s. So I sold my company. I've had a couple companies that I've built up and started and sold. And then I meet founders and other business entrepreneurs. And Jason Weaver, who's now the CEO and founder of AirDeck, started a company called AirDeck. And I started looking into it. I'm like, what is this AirDeck thing? And what he was trying to achieve was this bridging this gap with communication, right? As the world started going into this pandemic and communication was getting more difficult in person, there had to be an alternative to kind of personalize communication in a way where you can deliver presentations and documents and materials through narration, right? Through voice or video narration. And so when he started building this platform, the idea was to send out pitch decks and narrate them so people could save time and not have to, have a meeting for every single point of contact, right? And as the pandemic happened, education was one of those things. When school started going remote learning, he offered that free to teachers so that they could put their lessons online and let their students see this the classwork and be able to track who's online, who's viewing it, and whatnot. So I joined them about a year after they started, raised about 3.9 million in December of 2020. And I came on because I'm like, this is a fabulous tool. This is a tool that's going to help change the way that we communicate, especially in the middle of this, or really the beginning of this pandemic, where it's a challenge to meet. And with everyone working remote these days, there has to be a better way to not have that confusion of when you send a presentation, or no context when you send a document. You can now add narration to that, which is how AirDeck was started. And AirDeck today is helping so many companies, from sales teams to onboarding customer success teams, deliver training and onboarding materials in a way that personalizes that content, has that scale, and is able to reach a lot of people in a way that you can track and manage and do so much more efficiently.
That sounds great. I mean, Greg, I don't know about you. I love that idea. You're setting a pitch, or you're setting a resume, or you're setting any document, right? And so sometimes things can fall, through translation. It could not go through, or somebody wants to look at your document maybe after work when you're not around and you don't want to take time away from your family. Now you can be a part of that. That sounds great. Greg, have you seen more and more of a need for presentations and sort of that video live component, but it's not quite live. It's like filmed.
Yeah, but it's adding in that video component that I think is so important for anything. And I think that's a testament to it right there. Like, it doesn't matter what your industry is or what business you're in, video is so important. And adding that personal touch. And Jack, mentioning, especially at the start of COVID, we lost a lot of that personal communication, that interaction that we had. And this is a way to kind of bring some of that back, and also just add something more add something more to what it is that you're presenting to people. And I feel like that would really make it stand out.
Absolutely. I mean, when you're, we deal with this a lot when we send out, oh, hey, Greg, I'd love for you to take a look at this document, right? And you might type up an email, you might send out that document, or I put together a presentation, a brand deck for one of the companies, and I want to walk through that brand deck. There's one thing to, here's the attachment, take a look at it, versus, here, I'm going to narrate and walk through it, and then I'll share you the link. You can watch it on your own time. You can go slide by slide. It's not video, so if you need to change or modify something, you don't have to change the entire thing. You can just change a slide or a section of it. So we're seeing so many different use cases for AirDeck these days, and it's really changing the way that people are able to communicate remotely, right? A lot of people are not going back to work in the office, right? And so they may have these meetings, or I may share this campaign that I just put together, which I just did. For example, I put together a partnership strategy in a Google Doc, and I took that Google Doc, narrated it in an AirDeck, and then sent it off to my team so that they can see what are the details of this partnership deck, and then we can get on a meeting and talk about what they saw. So I think there's going to be even more use cases that we're discovering soon. I even used it to hire people, which, if you think about this is where it gets really, really interesting. And I'm getting ready to launch a version of AirDeck that will allow us to do this even more seamlessly. But people who are looking for jobs, right? If you think about the Great Resignation, everyone who's out there is like, I'm looking for a job. How do you stand out from the rest of the group, right? And so when you apply for a job, you send out a resume or a cover letter. What if you could send that out and do a video cover letter with the resume inside, but you're narrating different sections using a laser pointer to say, oh, my career started here. This is what I do for this company. This is what I did here, and add context to that resume. Now, when you send that resume, it's a resume with context, as opposed to just a PDF document. And you can pair that, and you can see me, you can listen to me, you can hear my voice, and that creates more personalization that you start to connect with without having to meet in person just to do that.
That's really cool. It's a great concept, that you come up. I mean, not just concept, but a great product, to add into that. I can definitely see a lot of people taking advantage of that.
Yeah, I have a question though, Jack. So my question is so does this is this is it a PDF after has video, or is it a different type of document? And my second question is, I can see, or not so much question, but I can see how powerful this would be on a college application as well as a resume too. It just seems like now what an efficient way to get your voice out and the way that you present on a traditional, more flat document.
Absolutely. And so we can take almost, I think, up to 125 different file types that you can load up. It could be a PowerPoint presentation, could be a keynote, could be a Google Doc, could be just an image or a GIF even, right? And you can load these up as individual slides, and it's a presentation model, right? So you're going slide by slide, but a slide could be a video, a slide could be an image, a slide could be an actual PowerPoint slide, for example, right? But now you're able to add context. You can add a video overlay. You can just narrate it if you don't want, you're camera shy, you don't want to be on camera. A lot of people just use it to narrate. This is my presentation. I wanted to talk about this. To make sure you take a look at that. So it's adding that clarity to complicated documents and things that people send out these days that lack context. And what's amazing about it is, we're now at a point where large teams, right? So let's say you have a sales deck and you have a sales organization, and you're trying to figure out which sales deck is resonating well in the prospecting or lead generation side of things or demos. You can now figure out which deck is the one that's working well. And then you can share that with the rest of your team. So now each person uses that same deck, but they personalize. They add their own video. They add their own content to it. They voice it themselves. And it becomes theirs. And so the person who's receiving it is getting a personalized deck of the something that could be repurposed and reused. So there's just, again, like anything that you can think of. If you said I can add narration or video overlay, or be able to walk you through something in a slide-by-slide format for training, onboarding, or whatnot, AirDeck is really the tool to use.
Very cool.
Yeah,
so
it really is.
Greg, what do you think? I mean, Greg, what do you think about this? Like, so, you would be able to send a PDF, right, with like the video in it. So I mean, I just feel like this would be such a great, it would really give you an edge if you were being considered for a new job or for college admission. Seems pretty powerful.
Absolutely. Adding that personal touch to it, and letting them get to know you, even just your voice. If you're narrating it, like, that's really cool. And I think, Jack, you just said it was like 120 different file types or something. I could have that number wrong. And so that's a lot of versatility. So no matter what you're doing, you can do this and have that work on it. I mean, yeah, I think it's something for everybody out there. If you're thinking about this right now, applying for a job or like a great example, applying for college or whatever, adding that extra something in to really explain it or walk through your experiences and have them hear the voice. I think that's a pretty powerful tool.
Yeah, that is really cool. That is really cool. Thank you so much. Well, let's talk about this, Jack, because I know you are a man of many talents. And another thing that you're busy with is the Charity Care Act. So let's talk about that, because I think let's talk about $4. I think this is just the first time you told me about this. I think we were in an Adobe meeting. I was like, wow, I love this topic.
Yeah, no, absolutely. So, $4 was started by a gentleman named Jared Walker, and he, was helping family members navigate the medical debt that they had in their family. And through his understanding and research, started to find out that hospitals, there's a Charity Care Act, and for hospitals to maintain their nonprofit status, they must abide by the Charity Care Act, and that means they have to forgive a certain amount of debt based on people's income. And so what was happening was he realized that, majority of debt, there's $88 billion in medical debt. Think about that. There's $88 billion in medical debt in the US today, right? And most of that debt can be eliminated, right? And people don't know that. We've eliminated already through $4 almost $15 million in medical debt just in the past couple of years. And a lot of that is just helping people understand and navigate the law, right? And the law says hospitals, if you want to stay nonprofit, you must forgive this debt if people fall below the income requirements. And you'd be surprised how many people qualify, because the income requirements, it's a multiple of what the income is based on your size of your family. So Jared started this $4, initially was to kind of help people navigate that. We've now built a tool where you can go to $4, put in your information, the hospital that you owe the debt to, and they'll look it up and they'll say, yeah, what, based on your income, based on all these other parameters, you can probably get that debt removed, 80%, 100%, or on so on and so forth. So on the $4 website, like you see here, you can say get help now, and then you click on that. It will take you to a page as a form that will allow you to put in your information. We've have some amazing stories. If you get a chance to read some of these stories on there, it's incredible. I mean, there were families who got into a car accident, or the insurance only covered so much, and the father was the main breadwinner in the family. Well, he couldn't work anymore, right? And when the bills mounted up to, I think, over $150,000 in medical debt, they didn't know what to do, right? It's a family of 6, and based on that size and that family, that debt was 100% cleared out. And so what $4 does is they take the information, writes a letter to the hospitals, submits the information, and helps. What we do is help people to get that debt eliminated. And as Winnie, when it comes to debt, the medical debt is just one of those, big burdens for people and leads to the most bankruptcies, right? And by doing this, we've eliminated, like, just in this past year, over 15 million. Right, this year already, we're well into the millions already, and helping people eliminate debt. And there's just so much more debt. I mean, $88 million or $1 billion that's out there today. So
that's amazing.
That is such a staggering number. But yeah, that is so great, because I'm sure we all know people who have gone through that and had something, obviously a very bad time in your life. If you're getting that in the hospital and having all that debt rack up, and then have the debt on top of it, just as a burden on top of just trying to get better, to be able to eliminate some of that and just have somebody navigate, because it's so complicated for just somebody to try to figure that out. It's nearly impossible, I would think, for someone just without any knowledge going in to try to figure out how to navigate those systems. So that's really incredible.
Yeah, Jack, that's actually really great information.
Yeah.
I mean, I am echoing Greg on this. I had a client recently, right? And their mother passed away, and it was the medical bills like you said, over $100,000. But now the heirs are really overwhelmed, thinking, how am I going to pay this debt? So maybe let me know if that's a case. I'm thinking that I should probably ask them to check out Dollar Four and see if they can help, even though the mom has passed away. Yes?
Yeah, absolutely. Get if that debt is now assigned to someone else, or based on the income requirements. Yeah, you contact Dollar Four. I mean, that's what we're trying to do at Dollar Four. We have built a system there that allows you as a person to put in that information and just check. Right, the worst we can
Mhm.
do. Sometimes it's a partial, but most of the time it's full forgiveness of that debt. And
Wow.
that's just a part of I mean, when we're talking about $15 million in debt that's been forgiven, we're talking about several hundred people. I mean, we're not even talking, we're several thousand people actually. So not talking about tens or thousands or hundreds of thousands. We're talking about really just a couple thousand people. And we want to get the word out. We want to be able to help people. We also are looking for donations because we want to grow our team. It's a nonprofit organization. We do it for to help other families and really help families avoid these anxiety things that are happening right now, especially in the difficult times that we are, for people who've lost their jobs, or businesses have gone under. The medical debt is one of those debts that is very complicated to navigate. So people feel like they're obliged to pay for it, like a credit card or anything like that. But the
Mhm.
reality is, if they looked into it, most hospitals will forgive that debt if you ask.
Wow, that's incredible, Jack. And talk about so relevant in the times that we have experienced, right? You said how the first company you're affiliated with was so relevant during COVID, during the pandemic. But I think the second, this nonprofit they're with, even more relevant. So thank you so much for sharing that with us.
Mm,
Yeah.
absolutely. Yeah.
I mean, it really is. I just wanted to echo, yeah, what Winnie was saying, because I'm already thinking of a couple of people that I'm going to send that way too, to take a look at this. That some people that have some medical debt and trying to figure that out. So that's just great. It's a really
Yeah.
great organization.
No, it's
Mhm.
it's interesting because one of the things I talk about viral all the time, things that happen viral, and the one thing that took off, we talk about the Apple event and how I took off with Twice, but with Dollar Four, it was actually a little TikTok video that really blew it up because Jared had done a little TikTok video. So if you're on TikTok, they do these little trends like, tell me something that sounds illegal that isn't, right?
Mhm.
So they do that clip, and then Jared takes that clip and says, did you know that your medical debt can be forgiven? Here's how you do it. You go check the hospital's website, where they have the information. And here at Dollar Four, you can submit that information. And it's fully legal that you can have your debt completely wiped out, right? And that video within the first day had like 5 million views, right, on TikTok. And again, thinking about TikTok as this, kitty bopper teen things back in, the 2019, it really took off from there, and it built a lot of awareness. And amazing thing was the people who wanted to help out too. The people who are just like, you know what, I have family that I want to help out and share this information with them. But then also, because you've helped me and in my situation, I want to give back and help and pay it forward as well. So that it's a really reciprocal process that we're doing at Dollar Four, and it's a lot of fun. And going back to the viral side of social media, there's a lot of good that can come from social media, obviously.
Mhm.
Yeah.
100%. Mhm.
Yeah, that definitely shows some of it. It's not all yeah, on TikTok there are good things that can come out of TikTok and social media for sure. It definitely shows the power of that, like one random video that you watched and then now you're involved in this and helping this be a success. That's a good testament.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. Well, I know that Greg started this in the beginning. And really, what else? I guess, what are you up to next, Jack? What's sort of your next chapter? What could we look forward to?
Yeah, no, I'm in a part. I'm at a point in my career where a lot of what I work on has to have meaning or has a purpose, right? And I think, for example, joining AirDeck was looking at the opportunity to really help communication. Work doing things for Dollar Four is really to help bring awareness and help people eliminate debt. And I think there's just a lot of things that I've gained over my 22 plus years of experience in building companies and selling companies. Right now I'm at a point where I need to share this information. So I'm working on a book right now, actually. So I'm excited to just be able to share some of these stories pretty soon that will hopefully help people be inspired, right? Part of my shtick, or things that I've talked about, as an entrepreneur, is, people ask all the time, well, how do you come up with new ideas, right? And I'm like, the ideas come from new ways of doing old things, right? You look at something that's old, Yellow Pages and Yellow Page advertising was old. I helped create online lead generation for home improvement, right? Brand new, right? And so you look at new ways of doing old things. That's what I like to look at. So I want to be able to share that story, because people ask me all the time, well, how do you come up with these new ideas? Come up with new technologies or whatnot. And the reality is, I do it in a way that is just innovative and trying to change things that for the better and for the good. So I have a book coming out hopefully by the end of this year, and I'll be more than excited to share with you the whole story of my life, which started with a kidnapping at sea,
Wow.
from pirates. And I think I put in one of the notes, did you know that there are still like 153 pirate attacks every year? Did you know that?
Really?
Yeah. And 10 years ago it was 453. It's gone down to about 153 now. But going back to when I left Vietnam on a refugee boat, we were attacked by pirates, and I was kidnapped by pirates. And there's a lot of adversity there that I was able to overcome, which is an incredible story. Hopefully that'll get people interested, and I can help share some of my journeys in my life and things that have happened there.
I gotta hear that story, Greg.
I was going to say, yeah.
You gotta hear
Yeah.
this story.
That is quite the story in itself, going from being kidnapped by pirates on a refugee boat, and then now you're helping people eliminate medical debt and all the success that you've had. I want to read this book. Is what I'm saying.
I'm pretty sure it wasn't Johnny Depp that, took over Jack. So this book sounds incredible. Absolutely incredible. Jack, where should people follow you for like more news, and of course with the book coming out?
No, absolutely. So, Twitter is my main platform, at Jack Phan, as you see there. You can also find me on Instagram at Jack Phan. I even have a YouTube channel that I do piano covers for Twice songs and some of the videos and the concerts I go to, and the videos from those as well. But yeah, you can pretty much find me on any platform. Look for Jack Phan. I'm in great company. There's like a dentist, Dr. Jack Phan, and a mathematician, really great guy, Dr. Jack Phan as well. So I'm in great company, but I am the original OG Jack Phan here. So
you grabbed the social handles first. That's good.
I did.
Well, Jack, it is so great to talk to you and find out about, all these different things that you're doing and share this with everybody. And it's always so inspiring following what you do, and just especially, following you on Twitter and all the things that you get involved in and that you're helping amplify voices. And it's just really cool what you're doing.
No, absolutely. Yes. And I enjoy watching you guys' show. I love keeping up to date with all the technology updates from you, Greg, and I've always enjoyed that. And Winnie, your knowledge as a whole in the financial space, and really, helping others as well. I think you guys are great people as well. And that's why it takes it's a lot of joy to be able to join you guys here on the show and share some of what's happening in my life. And hopefully, if I just get one person to get some takeaways from what I was able to share, that makes me happy. And hopefully that makes the world a better place.
It certainly makes the world a better place. And we hope to have you back, Jack, because this was so fun. Thank you so much. And thank you so much for everybody for tuning in today. We appreciate you so much. If this resonates with you, or you want to follow Jack some more, definitely follow him on Twitter and share this interview and show with someone that you care about, because sharing is caring. Absolutely. Thank you, Greg, for everything and for always being here. Any last words?
No, I think that's kind of what you just said. If anybody wants to reach out, feel free. Always reach out to us, to Winnie or myself, and follow Jack. And if you have any questions about anything that I talked about earlier, or you just want to share something really cool, I really appreciate that. A lot of people have been sending me cool, random, weird tech things they find in articles. Please keep doing that. If you find some weird flying car contraption, send it to me. I want to look at it. So I always enjoy that. So yeah, thanks everybody for joining the show too, and just being here each week with us. We really enjoy this, and it's always great to see everybody hopping into the chat, whether it's live or afterward. Just a lot of fun. Absolutely.
It's so much fun. So we can't wait for you to be at our next show. We have a lot of fun stuff coming up very, very soon. So with that, we will say goodbye and wish you well. And thank you so much once again to the amazing Jack Phan for being here. We appreciate you. Thank you so much.
Bye, everybody.